So we have decided to come camping for the weekend. Why, you might think, are we standing outside a building that looks like this? Because it is one of my favourite shops. It's Ultralight Outdoor Gear, and we've come to pick up a lot of extra items that I'll show you later, but we've got them all in a box. I'll give you a quick kind of glimpse of them now. But yeah, it was really exciting. We spent about 3 hours in there and they were really, really helpful. I didn't even know they had a showroom until a couple of days ago. And we're here on a Saturday. You have to ring to make an appointment, and it's not kind of the average type of shop. You have to kind of tell them what you want and then they'll go and get it from the warehouse. But they're just absolutely brilliant. I love the place. It's Stockton-on-Tees is where we are. So we drove for about 2.5 hours to get here this morning. And now we've got the afternoon. Actually, it's just gone 2:45. So we're going to go and find somewhere to pitch our tent. We're going to go and get some food first. So this is our box of goodies. We've got our meals here, Thai chicken curry, Andrew's new sleeping bag there. What else have we got? Our cooking pot, a collapsible mug. I'll show you more of it later when we get to our site. Well, we've now sorted through all our new stuff and packed it all. I've got a very, very full, quite heavy backpack, but it seems to be fitting quite well. Really nice area. Lots of people have parked up and they're just with their children down by the stream there. I gave Chesky a drink. And as you saw, we were sorting through all of the new things, getting all of the wrapping off and so on. So it's just coming up to 5 o'clock. And hopefully we'll find somewhere along here that's a bit more quiet, where we can pitch the tent and get set up. So that part straight ahead there, where there's a tree, we're hoping there might be a nice camping area around there. Yeah, what I would like is to find a badger. I probably won't find a badger, really. If I wanted a badger, I should have probably gone to a wood. But I've never actually seen a badger. But really, any kind of wildlife. That's why I'm thinking if we head towards, obviously to the water, but there is a waterfall up there too. And it would just be nice to have some wildlife around us. You might have gathered I like being around wildlife. Well, we've started coming down to the stream to see if we can find a spot that's open enough for us to put a tent, but it's just surrounded by ferns so far. So we're now going to go back up again and see if we go a bit further down whether maybe there'll be anywhere that's a bit more open. Otherwise we'll just pitch the tent higher up. Well, the path was sort of just disappearing into the bracken, so we plunged through the bracken, and we're thinking this is quite a nice area here. There is on Google Maps, it shows further up one of these two areas. I'll just point them out. There's one area, I think it's there, the dark area, another area there where there are streams that come down, and one of them looks as though it has almost like a flat area of beach. Like a riverside beach, but it could well be, looking at the topography, it could well just be sheer rock, and what I'm looking at is just the white of the rock catching the sun, so I'm not too sure. It's rather nice here. It's not very flat, but we can find a good part, I think, probably. And the stream is lovely, and this could be good. Well, we have now pitched up our tent. It's our new tent, and it's the big Agnes solution dye Tiger Wall 2. You can see it just here behind me. And we're thinking that tonight we might not put the rain cover on it, because it's basically one of the hottest days of the year, and importantly the Perseid meteor showers are at their peak. It was particularly last night, but also through today as well. There has been a full moon, so not so ideal for that, but it's, other than that, it's just a gloriously blue sky. So given the weather for the UK, why would we put a rain cover on and miss out on the stars? The tent, I'll show you a bit more of the tent actually. So it's popular with through hikers, of course. It goes up really, really easily. All of these tent poles are just one piece and they sort of hinge in two places. This is attached with a sort of a junction here, and it sort of swivels. It's a bit strange when you first start putting it together. These just all hook on. It's quite similar to many other tents at the same time. I like the fact that it's got the two vestibules, and when the rain cover is on, it'll look quite different. We might put that on tomorrow perhaps. But yeah, the rain cover will give you two vestibules which will come right out to sort of kind of here, and then you can store things on either side. Yeah, we looked at the MSR Freelite 2, which I actually would have quite liked. It wasn't available. And we also looked at the newer Platinum one, which is even lighter. It's a little bit thinner, and basically it was about almost £100 more expensive. And because I know that this one, people that do the Pacific Crest Trail take it and it lasts, so it's a good thing. We haven't got a footprint, and they do recommend you buy the separate footprint because it protects the base of the tent, the floor of the tent, which I believe, because it is quite thin, people do have problems with it tearing. I'll show you inside, but basically we put a tarpaulin down just for the time being. And we've also, because we brought the dog with us, we're going to be putting the bothy bag on the floor just to protect the floor, as well as some plastic sheeting we've got. But here we are. Nice view. She's very tired. I'll just show you. It's really close to the water. She's never too keen on it when I disappear. Why do I look like this, you might ask? Particularly today, I mean, you might ask that anyway. But the reason is because there are a lot of midges, and we've been sort of battling them. There were a lot just a short while ago on our tent. They keep getting in. But we thought that, well, I was thinking that maybe we could kind of sit over on those rocks over there. I'll show you what I found when I walked over to them. Just one of those things, really, being out in the wild. I sort of like it, but when there are just so many flying insects, it can be a bit bothersome. And I had been thinking, because the water is running here, it wouldn't be too bad. Just crossing over again. Chesky's not sure what she thinks of being here, are you? She's not too sure what she thinks of being here. And she's going to have some dinner soon. We're going to get the soya system, the soya squeeze we wanted in particular, which they didn't have in stock. So we've got this, which sounds as though it's very good. It doesn't last for as long as the soya system does. But basically, you just fill it anywhere, preferably running water, and that will filter the water, and then we can empty it into whatever we want. It's the Katadin, and we've got the 1 litre. So we've got the MSR pocket rocket stove, which is really lightweight. It's the deluxe version, which has got the ignition on it. And we've got to eat tonight these Thai chicken with rice and vegetables. No idea what it'll be like, but we're going to eat it from the packet after the water's boiled. And the stream that we're by is called Bollyhope Burn.
Bollyhope Burn?
Yep. And this is the meal. We added boiling water, sealed it up again after stirring it, waited 10 minutes, and it's okay, it's palatable. It's quite tasty actually. Andrew says it reminds him of, what's it remind you of?
A Vesta curry.
A Vesta curry, for anyone who remembers Vesta curries. I think they're expensive, but I mean it works, and they're lightweight really, I suppose, and they're quite tasty. Well, Chesky's had a very fine pouch of Nature's Menu, all natural dog food, chicken and vegetables, and she thinks that she's persuaded us to start doing the same thing, and that's why we were eating out of pouches ourselves. And we have these lovely new Sea to Summit mugs, which kind of fold away so they're flat. And we're having some Pucker apple and cinnamon tea. Well, we're in our tent and it's, what time? 9:15 now. And we're just going to lie down and chat and maybe listen to a voice note on WhatsApp and see if we get to see the stars before we fall asleep. Yeah, we've got a much more content little dog with us now. And it's really nice with the sound of the river around us. Not much animal life so far, but there was something that Chesky could smell and she was very, very excited about it. So, who knows? Maybe there will be some nocturnal life, maybe there won't. But it's really nice to be here. I've been thinking about doing this for ages, so... Well, it's morning, and I don't know whether you just heard that grouse. They've been flying over. I've been awake for probably about, well, on and off all night actually, although I did get quite a good sleep, but I've woken at repeated moments. And probably about an hour ago, the grouse started being really close to the tent, flying straight over. And since then, they seem to have moved mostly a little bit further away. But it's funny, I always think they're a bit like sort of laughing ladies, like old crones or something, but they're also almost frog-like, so that's been quite special to wake to. And now we have the sun that's quite high, but at different points during the night we didn't really see much in the way of stars because the moon just became so bright, and at different points I woke and the moon had sort of jumped from being over there to being straight ahead, or slightly to one side and then straight ahead, and then gradually it was moving further over. So that was the night. Other than that, we've spent much of the night sliding down our sleeping mats, heading toward the dog at the bottom end and then trying to wriggle back up again. So we're going to have to try and come up with a better solution to that. I'm not sure what that might be, other than we're not really on much of a hill, it's just a very, very slight incline. So we'll see if there's anything that could be done about that, other than just making sure that wherever we camp is perfectly flat and take it a spirit level. But we're going to go and get some coffee now. Well, we've been having coffee at our little spot by the stream. Andrew got a bit bitten last night. I really like, we both like these. It looks huge, I realise, because I'm holding it closer to the camera, maybe by the side of my face. But they're big, these Sea to Summit collapsible. Sound like an advert, don't I? I sound like an advert for Ultralight outdoor gears. Outdoor gears? All those cogs. Ultralight outdoor gear and now Sea to Summit, but they're really good. Yeah. The other mugs we looked at, there was one that they put out which was a titanium, I keep forgetting the name of the pot that we got. I was going to tell you about that as well. It's Snow Peak, I think. Yeah, it's Snow Peak. So, Snow Peak pot. They put out a Snow Peak mug, and it was a titanium mug, and it was in green, and it was this lovely leaf green and kind of metallic green, with kind of Snow Peak written on it. And as soon as we walked in and saw this on the table set out for us, I thought, I love that mug. Yes, we'll take that mug. But as it turned out, the mug was £35, so for 2 mugs it would have been £70. And for us, that wasn't really something that we were able to do. So maybe at some point I'll have the most wonderful camping mug ever. But I have to say, this, because it kind of collapses flat, you just sort of fold it up, weighs next to nothing, and it's a good capacity. What I hate is when you get to hotels or whatever, and they've given you a mug but you can fit a thimble full of coffee in it. No, I want a pint of coffee. Yeah, you probably, if you've seen any of my other videos, you might have seen just how terrible I look in the morning. I probably do now. Bags under my eyes. After I've had more coffee, it's almost as though I'm a new person. I'm like, anyway, yes. So this is not a mug. We opted for the Snow Peak titanium 900 milliliter pot, and actually the lid of it is a frying pan. It's got a thing on it, but we looked at others that had the frying pan thing with them, and they were heavier. This one's really quite lightweight. I can't remember the exact weight offhand now, but we were looking at the smallest size we could have realistically for 2 people, mostly for boiling water, but sometimes we might want to cook as well, so possibly for pasta or couscous or whatever, rather than only ever water. Yeah. The other thing that's been happening while we've been sitting here is I've been being harangued by a bumblebee. And I do mean harangued. Now I can hear a buzzing around me now. I love bumblebees, but this one seems to think I'm a cornflower because I'm basically the only brightly coloured thing, with the exception of Andrew, but it's not interested in him, and the exception of our mugs. It must think I'm a cornflower. It landed on me, and Andrew said, you know, don't move, you've got a bumblebee on you, on your shoulder. And I looked over, it's a huge bumblebee. And I sort of thought, well, not going to hurt me, but I guess it's not the ideal scenario. So Andrew was trying to knock it off me, which worried me because that's potentially going to annoy it. So I did sort of do a little lap, ran over to the tent, it followed me. I came back, it followed me. So yes, I've been forced into yet another dignified situation this morning. Yes, Andrew saved the day. He got it onto a frond of bracken, and it flew back off and came after me again. Yeah. Be wild. Well, as you have seen, I now have a drone. I say I have now. I did have a drone that Andrew gave me for Christmas, but it was a very basic one. Like basically, I mean, sufficient to try out some of the features on them, but essentially it wouldn't stay connected and it didn't do what you told it to do. It would just sort of go AWOL partway through. And the people we bought it from, or people that Andrew bought it from, they weren't great with the customer services. So they'd sort of respond, but when I asked questions about like the technical aspects, they just didn't really have any ideas. So it was problematic, and I actually got a refund on that. But the reason we'd done it was to find out whether it was something I'd want to continue doing. My idea with it is not to terrorize people. Really, it's just sometimes for me, when you're inhabiting a place in the wild, I sort of feel that the surroundings are part of my experience of the place. I mean, obviously, but I think when you're looking at maps and so on, you sort of hold that idea mentally within you as well. So just being able to send up a drone and see the way I would on a map, but actually see it and kind of zoom in on it a bit and see different angles on it and just convey that. I mean, when you think about television, that's what you see much of the time on television, wildlife programs and so on. So, and I love playing with, you've probably, if you've seen my videos before, you know that I love playing with photographic equipment. So I think that bee has come back to terrorize me. It's coming back to terrorize me. If you see me being followed by a bee, it's because I'm just delicious to bees. So we've started breaking down our tent now. But it's only 25 to 11. So we're going to do that quite slowly. And it's just been nice pottering around here. We might go up probably after lunch, but maybe even before. We might go up this hill that is just behind me here and then sort of follow it around, because I would like to know whether in future it's possible to access that area there, because there's a little valley that goes up there, and that's where I saw on Google Maps yesterday. It's either a sheer cliffside and I'm looking at bright rock, or it's a suitable campsite spot with a little sort of streamside beach or something. But yeah, we might go and do that, but we'll see. It's really nice actually to have come here and just potted around in the wild. There's no real feeling that we have to kind of be making progress to somewhere else, and yeah, it's been fun. So I thought I would say a little bit about what's been happening with me since the last video that I put up, because, and apologies if you've just come to this for the first time, you won't have any context for this. If you just come to this channel, that is, for the first time, you won't have any context for this. But basically the last video that I put out, I was undecided about whether I was going back to do the Camino or whether I was going to stay here. And as you might have gathered, I decided in the end to stay here. And it was a very strange, the whole thing was a very strange period for me. I've never really felt quite like that. It was almost as though I'd got into my head the idea that I was meant to go back, even though I hadn't even considered doing that. I didn't want to go back and do it. And yet it just kept coming to me that I could kind of see myself back there, and that maybe I should try and do it all in one go. And in theory, I had a window of about a month when I could have done it. And as it got nearer and nearer, obviously I was talking with Andrew about it, and I was sort of thinking about the reasons that I was wanting to do it, and whether to go would be to be kind of confronting something in a courageous way and doing the thing that I needed to do, or whether to go would be in a way running away from things, and so on. And then basically the closer it got, I got everything ready. I bought things, I got to the stage, and it might sound bonkers, it felt pretty bonkers. I actually packed my backpack and all I had to do was book a flight and book some insurance, and I knew which flight, and it was the night before, and I found it really upsetting, actually, the whole process. And it went from the Camino being something that I've always just loved doing in every way to it being something that was a really serious undertaking that I was doing in a different way. And I think, long story short, I ended up thinking, we've got about a month of summer and I need to get writing. And I had this idea that I could dictate as I walked the Camino, but I started trying out writing in different ways and writing about what I was going through. And basically felt a lot better for that. So we've decided that the money I was going to use, because we don't have vast amounts of money, the money that I'd sort of allocated for that, we could use to get some stuff for camping and come out together and just get out into nature. Because I feel, with my writing in particular, when I get out into this sort of environment, it clears my mind and it puts me back in touch with just basic essential things and gives me perspective on what I'm going to write next anyway. And also I've been finding better ways to fit my writing alongside my other work. So yeah, I'm being bitten by something. The result of it all is that we're here. I think it's, in a way, I'm happy about it for Andrew as well, because he was happy for me to go, but I think it's just better for us, really. And we have planned to go back and do the Camino next year. Having said all of this, I'm going to go and do it at some point on my own. I don't know when, but I think it is something that I need to do. Maybe I'll do it next autumn on my own. I don't know. Maybe later on, or maybe I'll do a different route, I'm not sure. But with the camping, we haven't walked a long way to get to here. It's probably going to be maybe about a 6-mile round route. It's not massive because we spent a lot of time choosing the equipment. I have done wild camping before, but I've never really, because I didn't have a health problem, it wasn't so easy to get ultralight gear, so I did it in a much more basic way. I was younger as well. I did it interrailing years ago around Europe, and then wild camping in Scotland and the Lake District. And I was with people that were carrying a bit more than I was as well. So, but I've never really had this kind of setup that I feel with a little bit more I could be doing Thru-hike. So we're just going to see how it goes, basically, and have a bit of fun along the way. So I've got my little drone, and I am aware, by the way, it's a small drone. It's a 249 gram DJI Mini 3 Pro. So it's a good drone, and I'm paying a lot of attention to the law, making sure that I can actually fly it while I'm flying it, and I'm being really, really cautious with it, because I do think that's important. I'm also sort of aware of if there is any kind of wildlife around, I don't want to have any kind of negative imprint on them with it. So yeah, that's the plan, and that's where I'm at. So had you been wondering, has she gone on the Camino or not, and why isn't she on the Camino perhaps, that's what's happened. And as I say, apologies if you're new to this channel and you didn't know about that, but that is my story. Also, if you are new to the channel, you should probably know the part of the thing is that I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which causes me to have dislocations and problems with muscle spasms and so on. So I'm sort of recovering from 2 different periods when I couldn't walk, each for 4 months to 6 months and so on. So it's been a bit of a journey for me. But yeah, we're getting there. I didn't think I would be able to camp again, because it's been a long time since I've been able to lie flat enough. I've had to be in a raised position. So I now have a kind of kit with the Thermarest NeoAir XLite mattress and the chair kit. And I don't actually have to have it raised very much at all. I'm quite flat now. And I have to have something under my knees a bit because they lock in place when they're straight. Gosh, that was an interesting insect. Maybe it was just a bee, I can't see too well. But yeah, so for me to actually be camping again, which I love, and to have spent last night going to sleep under a meteor shower and able to see it, was just, I didn't think I'd ever do it again. And it's just been brilliant. So that's where I'm at. Well, we've all packed up and we're going to try and get over to the high ground further back that way, but looking at the terrain and also on Google Maps and or the Ordnance Survey app, it's probably going to be better to get around this way, because otherwise we'll have a whole gully to try and navigate, which might be full of bracken and so on. So we're thinking it's best to go up here and then try to get down to the second gully over, which is the one that we particularly want to look at. I'm just going to show you what the camp area looks like now that we've cleaned it all away, in the spirit of leave no trace and all of that. There isn't really a proper path as such, but we're sort of heading along here. And maybe you can see, I pointed them out yesterday, that gully there, and then there's the further one. We're hoping to get to the further one just to see whether it might be a good camping spot. It's possible the drone picked it up earlier, but I don't know. I was a little bit tentative with it. I can see that there is at least one deciduous tree there, which has sparked my interest. And there is that area that is either a rock face or a beach. So all three of us were walking up here thinking it was a footpath, and it is in fact. It's a deep channel. Andrew went in up to his knee, Chesky went in up to her chest. Yeah. I went in a long way. Actually, there's a hole there, you can see. It's actually a stream.
But it's probably the road.
So that's the first gully there, and I think had we continued yesterday in the hope of being able to camp there, we may have struggled. It's possible there's some areas to the left that are flatter. I can see there are some sheep up there. But yeah, heading to the water, not always too straightforward. So we're going to go and see. I think that probably there's no beach. I think it's probably just where the rock has fallen away. We'll go a bit further on and we'll see. So I'm thinking maybe that area of grass. I will double check because it's a little further from the actual footpath than we were. So I would double check before actually coming here. You can see the sheep down there. And there isn't any little beach. It is indeed just the rock. But it's a nice place. There's a bee, I think. Is it a bee? It's something. What is it, Andrew? Well, smoky Spanish style grains and rice. What are the grains, I wonder? Plant-based simplicity merchant gourmet. Wheat berries, cooked wheat berries. I don't know that I've ever had a wheat berry, knowingly.
Black barley. Rice.
Tomato paprika paste. Got glucose syrup in it. That's alright, I suppose. Cooked whole grain bread. It's really tasty. And I'm amazed by how warm it is in the sun. I'm amazed. Yeah, you can see there's a road there. I guess it's a private track. Can you see that line that goes over there?
Yeah.
Mm. And we're off again. We're not entirely sure which track we're going to follow back, because there are many little tracks like this and they just sort of peter out. I think they're probably mostly used by sheep. We're a short way off the actual footpath. We'll go a few hundred yards in this direction before we meet back up with the footpath that's marked on the Ordnance Survey. And it's not surprising, it's really, really hot. It's like being in Spain. So there we go. One of the things I don't think I've said yet today is that it's one of the hottest days of the year. I've been keeping my phone on airplane mode. I haven't actually checked the weather, but it was forecast for basically the country's in drought. This area, the little bird up ahead, what's that? The little larks around. It's running off ahead of us now. Skylark. Yes, and that's quite fitting actually, because one of the things I was going to say was that it feels, when I was in Spain on the Camino, I kept saying, feels a bit like Wales, or it feels a bit like wherever place. This today, in some ways, I mean, the landscape isn't like the Camino at all, but it feels a little like Spain in the sense that it's exhaustingly hot. It's quite humid. I'm wearing the clothes I would sometimes wear in Spain. It's a really hot day, unusually so for the UK. And, you know, we're in North Yorkshire. So the far north, kind of toward the middle, slightly to the east, a little west of Durham, that sort of area. Yeah. There is officially a drought on. They're restricting hosepipe use and that sort of thing. And it's not surprising, it's really, really hot. It's like being in Spain. So there we go. Sheepfold here. Don't think there are any sheep in it now. Oh, yes, there are actually. Oh, no. Chesky. That's why you have your dog on the lead. I always keep her on a short lead, actually. Yes. That area down there where you can see the trees, a few sparse trees, it is actually fenced in. Some dead trees, is marked on the Ordnance Survey map as woodland, and it had made me think that maybe it would be a good area to sort of possibly camp somewhere near to there, because I thought, well, you know, you've got the shade, a little bit more varied, maybe there'd be more wildlife there, but it is actually a fenced in area and there's not really much woodland there. And I think it's interesting, and they, if you're kind of going to somewhere and maybe you've got the idea of they're restricting hosepipe arrive late, leave early, and that's we weren't really leaving early today, but we did arrive quite late yesterday, and finding somewhere to camp when you're not just sort of out walking all day and you can kind of at some point just find somewhere and stop. It does require a bit of research and sort of having options along the way. And what you see on a map isn't always accurate. I tend to compare the Ordnance Survey with Google Maps a bit. Well, we're back at the car. I've got my shoes there. They are, in case you're interested in shoes, they are my Ultra Timps, which are very, very comfortable, but I tend to not wear them for much walking that's kind of rough. I've been wearing today, I'll show you, my Hoka Speed Goats with my Dirty Girl gaiters, which are in an absolute state. I might replace them soon with some Montane ones. Well, we did not see any adders. I do know to look out for them in this country, and you would have thought in a way we'd have seen them basking out on the rocks. It's been so hot today, but no. People have been building dams here. Anyway, I'm going to fill up our water here and give Chesky another drink. But I can see why lots of families come. You can see some people over there have brought their deck chairs. There we go, and she's going as far in as she can, getting her paws wet, which is really not at all like her. She normally goes out of her way to avoid the water, but it is really hot today. It's been an absolutely fantastic weekend, and it just feels so, well, as I was saying before, so nice to just get out. We haven't seen anybody else the entire time we were camping. Ooh. You wet enough, are you? Better now.